You know how sometimes in life you hear a word or about a place or a thing and you've never thought about it or heard about it before, but suddenly everywhere you turn, there is a mention of that thing or it keeps cropping up. Well, I've been having that recently with goats, and it's really strange. The goats came into my life at the beginning of lockdown when Bibi, a wonderful friend and collector of art from the gallery, started sending me clips to cheer me up from her farm in New Zealand. And she's become obsessed with goats, and so she has her goats, and they're amazing, and they follow her around. And so every week these little videos of goats clip, 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 clopping along would come to me. And I became obsessed with goats and started noticing them. And then I found that goats were everywhere. They were coming into my life or were in my life from all directions. Picture is by Sophie Charlambous, who is an artist living in London. Sophie's family comes from Cyprus, and she goes there every year to work and to paint, and of course is very influenced by the wonderful agrarian landscape. But I just think this is so marvellous. She's actually cut the goats out of separate paper and then printed on top of them again. It's one of my favourite pictures, which is why I hang it right here by my desk so I can look at it all the time. And I had another goat up here. This goat is by Murat Brierre, who was one of the early Haitian voodoo sculptors. In Haiti, because it was such a poor country, the artists didn't have any raw materials, and so they got the old oil tin drums and they used the round lids and they cut them into these amazing shapes, which have such personality and extraordinary energy. And Brierre was probably the founder of the movement, born in 1935, and he died the year the gallery was established in 1988. About 30 years ago, I went to Ethiopia, and it was at that time a very dangerous country to travel in, but I was looking for artists, and I found in a little village the last Falasha Jew left in Ethiopia, this wonderful woman who was creating these little clay figures out of the earth and cooking them in dung fires. And I just fell in love with her work and carried it all the way back, jogging over there were no roads in Ethiopia where I was traveling, but jogging on my lap, and I managed to bring them back safely. But I just love this little goat. And again, I didn't realize that I'd been living with goats for all these years and that they were so part of my life. The other day, this is my kitchen. The other day I was washing up my breakfast when I looked at these tiles, which I've looked at for decades. They're made by a really, one of the most wonderful artists I've ever worked with, Anne Stokes, a potter, a nonagenarian potter from Hampstead. I was washing up and I suddenly saw goats, even here. And I had never noticed this. So here we have two goats climbing up a tree, eating the blossom. And Anne often worked in Italy, and so I think this is probably inspired by the goats in her olive grove. A few years back, I discovered the work of the amazing American potter Aaron Murray, who created these wonderful owls, this little pelican. His work had real energy, and of course the more I got to know Aaron, I found out that he too was obsessed with goats, and he did a whole body of work, ceramic goats and beautiful etchings of goats. Okay, you're just not going to believe this. I came downstairs and I was just heading out to the gallery when the postman put a card through the letterbox, and it's goats. And it goes, "Hi Rebecca, can one ever have enough goats?" Wow. When I went to Ethiopia in the early 90s, Mengistu had just fled the country for Zimbabwe, and the country was in a state of turmoil. The civil war was just ending, but still flaring up in pockets. And I travelled right across Ethiopia from top to bottom and across, and looked for artists. And I couldn't find anyone that I felt had an original spirit that captured the country, which was such a beautiful country. It took my breath away. I never thought I would ever say that anything was more beautiful than Australia, but some of the Ethiopian highlands were just so extraordinary. Anyway, I noticed eventually, I found this artist called Kana, and I just thought he had something so genuine. He was an outsider artist, as a lot of the artists that I enjoy are, and he used to wear sunglasses, and he just painted what he wanted to do. And this is a really lovely scene of the agricultural life which I saw so much of in Ethiopia. I saw goats in every village that I went through, and they were a big part of the life of the village. So when I was in Brazil, I found the work of the amazing printmaker José Borges. Again, this wonderful bucolic simplicity, and again, the predominance of goats, just showing the incredible importance that goats have in rural economies. So it seems to me that without realizing it, goats have been a big part of my artistic life. These three wonderful monotypes are by artists from Borroloola. And Borroloola is one of the most beautiful places I've ever visited. It's on the Gulf of Carpentaria in Australia, and it was about a 4-day drive to get there. And when I got there, I met Reggie Hussan and Thelma Dixon and some of the other artists. And they had just been making these wonderful pictures. And of course, I was struck by the simplicity, and of course, well, I felt of similarity to Picasso with the goat motif. There's just something so charming in the way they've placed them on the empty paper. And so I invited Thelma and Reggie to come to London and have an exhibition. And we had an absolutely fantastic time together. But we didn't have any real goats, but we had these goats. Okay, I promise, this is the last goat thing. I went to the Arctic Circle, and the Sami people, who are traditionally reindeer herders, also have goats. And I got this hat, which is, I think, the coolest hat in the world, made out of goats. And it's in the traditional Sami shape. Okay, I promise you, that's it. No more goats.